So guys, welcome back to the channel, and on this video we're going to be looking at Saucony's new Triumph, the Triumph 22. And right off the bat, I've got to give props to Saucony. They have added something to the Triumph 22 that is going to make a lot of runners double take. But does it live up to the hype? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we get started, a few disclosures. This video is in partnership with my friends over at Roadrunner Sports. Roadrunner Sports was good enough to send me the Saucony Triumph 22 for the purpose of review. However, they haven't told me what to say. They don't have any editorial privileges, and all the thoughts and opinions are my own. With that said, you can pick up a pair of the Saucony Triumph 22 at Roadrunner Sports for $160. So right off the bat, the Triumph 22 is a daily trainer. Ultimately, that is exactly what it is. It's a max cushion daily trainer. I should say it's a premium max cushion daily trainer. And I kind of make that separation between daily trainer and premium daily trainer based on price. Regular daily trainers are around $140, premium daily trainers are around $160. So let's get into the specs. We have 37mm in the heel, 27mm in the forefoot for a 10mm drop. Saucony claims that a US men's size 9 would tip the scale at 10.1 ounces or 286 grams. Now that is a bit of a weight increase over last year with the Triumph 21, but I'm not sure that weight difference is really going to be noticeable to a lot of people. But anyway, I don't wear a US men's size 9, I wear a men's size 13. And in my size, the Triumph 22 tips the scale at 12.3 ounces or 350 grams. So just to see where this falls in line with the competition, the Brooks Glycerin 21 in my size tips the scale at 336 grams, which is 14 grams lighter than the Triumph 22. And the other shoe, the Asics Gel Nimbus 26, tips the scale in my size at 373 grams. So that's 23 grams heavier than the Triumph 22, which is funny because the Nimbus 26 actually feels lighter in my hand, but I think we're going to trust the scale on this one. 23 grams heavier than this. So I guess by showing you those comparables is to point out that the Triumph 22 is right in the middle, which is to say it's right in line with the average weight of a premium daily trainer. All right, as we always do, let's start at the top. Let's work our way down. Let me hold that up so you can see this super plush heel collar. There's a lot of padding around here, exactly as we would expect. Got a nice Ortholite removable insert in case you wanted to change it out for something custom. And the step-in feel is very nice. This heel counter is very rigid. And in this colorway, you can kind of see where the heel counter goes. We've got this overlay coming around the back, and you can see that it's a little squishy at the top, and then we come down and it's very rigid. And again, right in line with the daily trainer build. This solid heel counter is very comfortable to wear. It's going to prevent any heel slip. The upper is a nice engineered mesh, and the engineered mesh on the Triumph 22 is fairly rigid. Like when I'm running my hands along it, it feels like it's rigid enough to stand up on its own. Now we do have the underlays coming around the toe box, which is going to assist in holding it up, but when I feel on the inside, this engineered mesh upper right here feels very substantial, which is a good thing. It feels like it's got good build quality, and it does. But the only thing that worries me is breathability. Now we do have these laser cut holes right on the toe box, which is going to provide some breathability, but we are quickly coming into summer, and it strikes me that this is going to be quite a warm upper, especially when the temperatures start to soar. Other than that, Saucony doesn't have many overlays. Got the Saucony S right here, but it's very thin. Little reinforcement coming along the eyelet chains just to keep that in check. We have one sewn on eyelet right here at the top. And we do have this extra eyelet just in case you need to do the lace lock method. But unless your heels are very dainty, I don't think anyone's going to need to do the lace lock method in the Triumph 22. This is very well built around the heel area. I do like the tongue on the Triumph 22. It's definitely medium in thickness, and that is a good thing on a daily trainer. Oftentimes brands like to really stuff their tongues full of stuffing and make them overly plush. Not so on this shoe. It seems to have just enough padding to do its job. I didn't experience any lace bite, but there's more to that story, so hold on. And this tongue does not have a lace loop, but it is gusseted. So the tongue isn't going anywhere. When your foot goes in, that tongue is going to stay put. Now for me, the Triumph 22 does fit true to size. I am a US men's size 13 in this, and I'm a US men's size 13 in every other Saucony shoe that I wear. And just like my previous experiences with Saucony, I'm going to hold this up so you can see that eyelet chain right here. You see how close it is? That's because I find the upper to have a fairly high volume. And in order for me to get a good midfoot lockdown, I'm having to cinch these eyelet chains quite close together. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't impact the ride. I still get a good midfoot lockdown. I just think it looks a little funny. I should say that my feet are fairly narrow. And that's also to say that perhaps if you have slightly wider feet, maybe not wide enough to go for an actual wide shoe, but wide enough that you need a roomy fit, I think the Triumph 22 is definitely worth considering because of how much room there is in this upper. I found the toe box to be nice and wide. I mean, not foot-shaped toe box wide, but wide as in daily trainer wide. I didn't experience any rubbing here on the lateral side where my little toe typically tends to rub when I'm in narrower shoes. Now we've come down to the midsole, and the midsole is the main story about the Saucony Triumph 22 because Saucony has switched it to PWR-RUN PB. So that's right, my friends. We now have a PIBA foam in a daily trainer, albeit a premium daily trainer. This is full-on unadulterated PIBA, and that is the marketing ploy. I call it a ploy. It's marketing genius that Saucony has adopted for the Triumph 22 because everyone knows PWR-RUN PB. PWR-RUN PB is a midsole foam in the super the shoe, the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, and mostly in the Endorphin Pro 4. It's also the foam that they use in, I would say, their most popular shoe, the Endorphin Speed 3 and 4. So when people see PWRRUN PB in a daily trainer, I'm sure it just stokes excitement. I was really excited to get my hands on these shoes because of this foam. But after running in it, there's something that I have to tell you. It seems to me that this is a different formulation of PWRRUN PB than is used in the Speed 3 and 4 and the Pro 3 and 4, because it's just slightly firmer. And yes, it's a PBA foam. It's going to have excellent rebound. It is going to be responsive. It doesn't feel as responsive as the Pro and the Speed. So if that's the reason that you have been looking at the Triumph 22, I want you to just think twice and not have your expectations so high. Because even though we do have PWRRUN PB, the shoe still rides like a daily trainer. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, to me, the PWRRUN PB definitely adds something to this shoe. But we'll talk about the ride in just a second. Let's go back to this top-down look, and I want to show you this sole flare right here. And again, at the bottom, you can see that the Triumph 22 has a fairly big booty here. And if I turn it around, you can see it's quite a wide base. And I think this is a pretty ideal shape to have for a daily trainer. I certainly don't mind having a wide base in a daily trainer. And perhaps if you don't need actual specific stability elements, but you like a more stable ride, again, I think the Triumph 22 is going to work well for you just because of the wide platform that this sits on. And then much like other daily trainers in its class, we have a lot of outsole rubber, which is exactly what we want when we're buying a daily trainer, because this is the shoe that we're going to put the bulk of our weekly miles in. We really wanted to stand up to punishment. And after my review miles put into it, remember I always do at least 50k in a pair of shoes before I test them, this outsole rubber is standing up remarkably well. Even where I tend to heel strike here on my lateral heel edge, I'm not even sure I see anything. Okay, maybe I see a little bit. Those little grooves that are in the rubber have worn down slightly in a few places, but it's very hard to see. And just based on that, I'm going to say that the Saucony Triumph 22 is going to last above average. Now, before we talk about how it rides, I want to remind you to put that PWRRUN PB out of your head and what you associate the types of runs that shoes with PWRRUN PB are actually used for. This is a daily trainer. It is going to be best for those recovery, easy runs, and that kind of thing, not specific workouts. Also, remember, I said this was a reformulated PWRRUN PB. It rides a little firmer than the Pro and the Speed. To me, the PWRRUN PB in those shoes rides very soft. This is not a very soft shoe. In fact, I think the competition, I'm not going to pull them out again, but the Glycerin 21 and the Nimbus 26, those ride a little softer than the Triumph 22. But saying that, we don't always want a super plush ride. And this is not firm by any means. It's just firmer than those other two shoes that I picked out as comparables. And after I got over my initial shock of this shoe not feeling like an Endorphin Pro, which I know is totally unrealistic, I actually found I really liked the ride of the Triumph 22. I found it to be fairly responsive for a daily trainer. In fact, as we're talking about the Glycerin 21 and the Nimbus 26, I found it to feel a lot more responsive than both of those shoes. That's probably because the midsole foam is just slightly firmer, and firmer shoes tend to feel more responsive than softer shoes. But either way, this shoe felt more responsive than the other two. Now, most of my testing miles that I put into the Triumph 22, I have been running easy, but there was one day where I went out with some friends and there was a race going, and one of our friends was in the race, and I was able to run alongside my friend that was racing, going down a hill, and when I looked at my watch, I noticed that I was running at a 5:40 pace. Now, those of you that follow me know that I don't often run at a 5:40 pace. That is very quick for me, and I was quickly starting to redline. But what I didn't think about when I was running that fast was the shoes. And it was only after I had slowed down that I was impressed with how this shoe felt at running at that kind of speed. So that's not to say anything. I don't want you picking this shoe out thinking, oh, I'm going to run so fast. This is still a daily trainer. It's made for easy runs, but perhaps if you don't have a big rotation, the Triumph 22 is going to be one to consider, because yes, it's perfect for recovery, easy runs, but maybe it doesn't feel so bad at picking up the pace too. I mean, if you had to. Of course, if you did want to buy another faster shoe, I think the obvious choice is to go with the Endorphin Speed 4, and then you get a great trainer and a great up-tempo shoe, possibly inexpensive race day shoe in the Endorphin Speed 4. So some of you may be wondering which shoe I like best, between the Glycerin and the Nimbus, and because I have run in and tested those shoes so recently, I can say that I do prefer the ride of the Saucony Triumph 22 to those other two shoes. And for the same price, this would be the one that I would recommend. So I want to hear from you. I know we haven't talked about the Triumph 21 before this, but that's because I didn't run in it. I am very aware of the changes that have been made between the 21 and the 22, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't like what Saucony has done with the Triumph 22. But as someone coming in new to the Triumph, I can tell you that it's still a good shoe, and it's going to work for a lot of people. In fact, based on the changes that have been made to the Triumph 22, I'm going to say that it's going to work for more people than the Triumph 21. But again, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And for now, it's Matt B. This has been my review of Saucony's Triumph 22. Be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.